Now, what's really interesting about this is the way the rhythm matches the theme. You'll see it here. The theme is sleeping, right? There is sweet music here that softer falls than petals from blown roses on the grass, or night dews on still waters between walls of shadowy granite in a gleaming pass. Music that gentlier on the spirit lies than tired eyelids upon tired eyes. Music that brings sweet sleep down from blissful skies. Here are cool mosses deep, and through the moss the ivies creep, and in the stream the long-leaved flowers weep, and from the craggy ledge the poppy hangs in sleep. Now, Leonard Peikoff analysed this poem, and I'll give you his analysis. Notice how that second verse keeps slowing down. It's increasing the number of beats before the end of the line. So, here are cool mosses deep, 3. And through the moss the ivies creep, 4. And in the stream the long-leaf flowers weep. And from the craggy ledge, you're waiting for the eep, right? And from the craggy ledge, the poppy hangs in sleep. So interesting how he produces that effect of sleepiness by constantly extending and extending the meter. Any thoughts? Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's a bush ballad, it's beautiful. Kind of has that rhyming sort of, or the use of the same sound again and again.
Mm-hmm.
Creates something that's very like fluid and beautiful, but also quite chirpy as well for in that poem that's about the bellbirds, but kind of uses the technique very similarly.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, yeah, thank you. All right, now another one by Tennyson. This one's very idealistic. This is about a young boy setting off on an adventure against the wishes of his family. And it's very rousing. It's called The Sailor Boy. He rose at dawn and fired with hope, shot over the seething harbour bar, and reached the ship and caught the rope and whistled to the morning star. And while he whistled long and loud, he heard a fierce mermaiden cry, "O boy, though thou art young and proud, I see the place where thou wilt lie. The sands and yeasty surges mix in caves about the dreary bay, and on thy ribs the limpet sticks, and in thy heart the scroll shall play." So this is his family saying, "Don't go, you're an idiot." Yeah. Now he replies, "Fool," he answered, "death is sure to those that stay and those that roam," meaning I'm going to die anyway. "Fool," he answered, "death is sure to those that stay and those that roam, but I will never more endure to sit with empty hands at home. My mother clings about my neck, my sisters crying, 'Stay for shame!' My father raves of death and wreck, they are all to blame, they are all to blame. God help me, save I take my part of danger on the roaring sea. A devil rises in my heart, far worse than any death to me." I would applaud that guy. Yeah. That's a spirit. That's a real spirit on that kid. All right, now I can't read your mind. So what should go next? We have a very pessimistic poem. We have a poem about not being conquered. We have a poem about reason and emotion. Let's go from those 3.
The middle one.
Reason of emotion.
Reason or emotion, yeah. Okay, so you said the middle one, which is not being conquered. We'll do both. All right, we'll start with the middle one. Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Well-known poem written by a World War I soldier. Published posthumously in 1920, I believe. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
That's terrific.
Who's heard that one before? You've definitely heard it before, yes. But this is a really beautiful poem, very elegant. I think it ultimately rests on a kind of malevolent universe premise, the idea that everything's against you. But nonetheless, it does celebrate your ability to triumph and fight against it. The question is that the kind of world we actually live in? Something to consider. All right, now I promised the one about reason and emotion. Yes. This one's called The Tables Turned by William Wordsworth, who I philosophically completely disagree with, but who is a very fine poet. So we're going to include him. This guy is basically imploring his friend to stop being such an intellectual and to get his wisdom from nature, from life, rather than from anything academic. Up, up, my friend, and quit your books, or surely you'll grow double. Up, up, my friend, and clear your looks. Why all this toil and trouble? The sun above the mountain's head, a freshening lustre yellow, through all the long green fields has spread his first sweet evening yellow. Books, 'tis a dull and endless strife. Come hear the woodland linnet, how sweet his music on my life. There's more of wisdom in it. And hark how blithe the throstle sings, he too is no mean preacher. Come forth into the light of things, let nature be your teacher. She has a world of ready wealth, our hearts and minds to bless, spontaneous wisdom breathed by health, truth breathed by cheerfulness. One impulse from a vernal wood may teach you more of man, of moral evil and of good than all the sages can. Sweet is the law which nature brings, our meddling intellect misshapes the beauteous forms of things we murder to dissect. Enough of science and of art. Close up those barren leaves. Come forth and bring with you a heart that watches and receives. It is. I think he's a great poet. Why is it beautiful?
The last part, last sentence.
That watches and receives?
Yeah, the heart.
Come forth and bring with you a heart that watches and receives. Yes.
Can you say that last sentence?
Sure, I'll read the last paragraph. Enough of science and of art, close up those barren leaves. Come forth and bring with you a heart that watches and receives. Now, I'm of the very controversial opinion that poetry has to rhyme, which is not an opinion shared by most poets.
But how does that coincide with your previous comment on emphasizing? Here's the fundamental contradiction with this poem. Wordsworth prides himself in being romantic, letting emotions flow, yet it adheres to the precise form of the rhyming schemes, and it conforms to iambic pentameter, which is like 4 beats. She has a world of ready wealth. So how do you coincide that? Rhetoric?
It's not my job to coincide it. He just has a contradiction in his thinking.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's true for, philosophically speaking, that's true for all subjectivists. They try to make a rational argument for why you should be rational. Yeah. Yeah. So he's just doing that as a poet.
Yeah.
But he still produced some really nice verse, so I thought it was worth reading.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to read a poem that might surprise you. I won't spoil the ending. And then I'll read its opposite. This one's called Richard Cory by Edwin Arlington Robinson. Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from sole to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim. And he was always quietly arrayed, and he was always human when he talked. But still he fluttered pulses when he said, "Good morning," and he glittered when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought that he was everything and made us wish that we were in his place. So on we worked and waited for the light, and went without the meat and cursed the bread. And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head. Well, that's probably the most malevolent poem in this entire collection. Because, well, I'll put it to you, why do you think I might say that? What kind of world does this poet think Richard Cory lives in?
Well, a malevolent universe, but also there's the message of the poem is that happiness is an illusion.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's very good. The idea is that he has everything that we think is supposed to make a person happy, and yet he commits suicide because he's completely miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe he commits suicide because he's achieved all this and still isn't happy. He has nothing else to expect from life.
Right.
Things can't get any better, at least in some respects. But what does it overlook? The relation of consciousness to existence, right? He has an enormous mind-body dichotomy. He hasn't reconciled his true values with the actions he's taking. And he's led himself to misery in that way, right? But of course, this poet is, I would almost say evil. I wouldn't, try to infer that from one poem. But he's building you up to think this is a beautiful, uplifting poem about a man that is admirable. And then in the last two lines, he went home and put a bullet through his head.
Also, I find it interesting, I might have misheard, but the rhythm of the rhyme seems to be disrupted right at the end too. So you're sort of hypnotized.
No, you've really hit the nail on the head there. He does do that. So it's, maybe Robin could comment here, but it goes A, B, and then you're waiting for the ed, because he says, so on we worked and waited for the light, and went without the meat and cursed the bread, and Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head. So you do wait for the ed, and then it hits you like a bullet. All right, now a different benevolent universe premise poem. This one has a few words that are very confusing. For example, it's called "Say not the struggle, naught availeth." And I'll just translate. Naught just is like not. And availeth is kind of, they say what will avail from this, right? So don't say the struggle is for nothing, is if we put it into today's language, right? Say not the struggle, naught availeth. Say not the struggle, naught availeth. The labor and the wounds are vain. He's saying, don't say these things, right? Say not the struggle, naught availeth. The labor and the wounds are vain. The enemy faints not, nor faileth. And as things have been, things remain. Don't say all that. If hopes were dupes, fears may be liars. Meaning your fear could be misleading you. It may be in yon smoke concealed, your comrades chasing now the flyers, and but for you possess the field. For while the tired waves vainly breaking seem here no painful inch to gain, far back through creeks and inlets making comes silent, flooding in the main. And not by eastern windows only, when daylight comes in the light. The sun climbs slowly now, how slowly, but westward look, the land is bright. So I think the idea there is, if things look bad up close, you just need to stand back and you'll see. You know, here the water is barely gaining an inch on the beach, but if you stand back, you'll see there's an enormous flood coming in. You might be looking myopically to one window to try to catch some sun, but if you just look in the other direction, you see it's already there.
Can I ask, Max, do you think there's any significance in the fact that it's referring to, look in the west, there's still light, which is a sunset, and there's something malevolent going on there, or am I reading too much into it?
I think that it's the sun in the east shining to the west, and maybe it's obscured by something in the east is the idea. Yeah. But he says, not by eastern windows only, when daylight comes in the light. So it's not the case that you have to be looking in the direction of the sun to see it. You can still see it if you're facing the other direction, right? Yeah. You can see the sunlight, yeah. If we're being very literal about this. Okay. I think I'll read one more, and then we'll do a short break. Okay? This one is called The Dying Speech of an Old Philosopher. I strove with none, for none was worth my strife. Nature I loved, and next to nature, art. I warmed both hands before the fire of life. It sinks, and I am ready to depart. Okay, thank you. That concludes the first half of the talk.